Hello and welcome to Wednesday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic. Now, one thing we get a lot of requests for on the channel is to cover classic Sudoku techniques. And I am aware that there's been something of a quest going on over on our Discord server to create classics that showcase difficult Sudoku techniques, sort of particularly the esoteric versions. Now, the puzzle on the screen is apparently a quite extraordinary example of this. Mark has looked at it, and I have an email from him here saying, let me read it to you. Well, he, amongst other things, he says he's absolutely no idea how Shy, for This Is Shy's puzzle, has created this. And he's never heard of this technique that's being showcased. So it's not Bowman's bingo then. But he does suggest I try and record a video of it. He also says that, just to be aware, this is an exceptionally difficult puzzle, smiley face. So I'm going to try and do this and find out what Shy has hidden in this puzzle for us. It's called Valtari. Apparently, I might be saying that wrong. Maybe it's Valtari. And that means, well, Mark says it means roller or steamroller. There you go. I've never heard of a roller or a steamroller technique, so I'm really not sure what to expect from this, but it's very rare I actually get to do a classic on the channel, so something a bit different today. A couple of things to mention before we get cracking. I mentioned it in yesterday's video, but our pilot podcast is now out on all of the normal podcast providing platforms. So if you might enjoy that, do have a listen. And please, if you do enjoy it, give it a nice review. We spent a very enjoyable hour last night recording the second one. So hopefully that will be available fairly soon. Now, also, some of you may have listened to something called Night Crew, which is a new audio comedy from the pen of Sudoku's own Peter C. Hayward. Peter has appeared on the channel many times. He's a very good constructor. He's written this audio comedy, and it's a comedy in which I have a small role as well. I play the spaceship's computer. Apparently my voice was perfect for the part, and Peter's just launched a Kickstarter to fund the creation of a whole season of episodes. So what I'll try and remember to do is to put a link on the video now up there. Maybe check it out and support it if you can, because it would be really, well, I would look forward to doing more episodes, that's for sure. Now, anything else to mention? Not really. Our Arrow Sudoku app, I'm still got my fingers crossed it's going to come out this Friday, which is in 2 days' time. I've not heard anything to the contrary yet, so hopefully that will be the day it gets released. Now, this is going to be very straightforward. What are the rules of this puzzle? Normal Sudoku rules apply. There, I've said it. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual. Now I get to play. Let's get cracking. Now, the first thing I'm struck by actually is, well, it's a symmetrical grid, but it's also got a lot of digits in it, hasn't it? I mean, there are a lot more than 17 digits in this puzzle, so it's obviously, it's not being ungenerous. It's so strange, actually, for me to stare at a puzzle nowadays that has a lot of given digits. So let's begin by pencil marking and see what we can do. We can place ones in boxes 2 and 9 into one of two places. Not quite in box 4. In classic Sudoku, by the way, I will not do what I will sometimes do in variant Sudoku, so I won't do that. I will not allow myself that luxury. Only if a digit can go in 2 positions will it get corner pencil marked. 2's got to be in one of those squares. Again, 2's got to be in one of these 3, which I'm not prepared to mark, but that means it will be in one of 2 in box 8, which I am prepared to mark. 3's, they don't look particularly good, do they? Naughty 3's. No, they really aren't. 3's are no good. Let's have a look at 4's. There are 2 4's in the corners. So 4's got to be in one of 2 places in box 3 and in one of 2 places, look, in box 7. 5. Oh, I get a digit. 5's. That's got to be a 5. That was unexpected. Another 5 here. Another 5 here. Now there's a 5 in one of those 2 cells, and in one of these 2 squares, and 1, 2. You're right. Okay, so these are the last 5's in the grid. So, but that was that was a flurry of activity. Sixes now. Sixes have got to be in one of those two squares. One of those two squares. One of these two squares. Not many sixes in the top 3 rows, look, so we might run out of room for sixes. No, can't see what else to do with 6. Sevens then. Sevens have got to be in one of those two cells. We've only got 2 given sevens. Ah, right, so sevens are not very useful. 8s, we have 3 8s. So 8's got to be in one of those. Ah, that's more interesting. Look, 8's locked into one of those two squares. So 8 is locked into one of these two squares. No. No, okay. And then 9s, I've only got 2 9s in the grid. And these 9s don't align in any particularly useful way by the looks of things. Right, okay, so we did get some joy with 5s, but nothing else. So all I can think to do now is I'm going to look at rows and columns that have lots of digits in them, and let's see if we can find some cells that are particularly restricted. So I'm going to start with column 5. Where I need 2, 3, 4 and 7. Oh, nearly. That's a 3 or a 7. That's a 4 or a 7. Oh, bobbins. That could be anything, I think. I'm not even prepared to pencil mark this. It's so useless. This one is 2 or 7, though. So there's definitely a little bit of restriction on some of the cells in column 5. Let's try row 5. I can see that needs 1, 2, 3 and 4. Nope. Not really. 3 or 4 here. Nope. 1 is in one of 2 places in row 5. Now, okay, I'm actually going to colour that, because my big tip, to be honest, with hard classic Sudoku is to find digits that are locked into 2 positions in rows and columns, because it's the bedrock of so many of the advanced techniques, although it may be that I don't know the technique that we have to use in this puzzle, so this might not be what we have to do, but I can see 1 is in one of 2 places. So what I'm doing is I'm scanning the other rows of the grid to see whether I can lock 1s into something like equivalent positions, either exactly or perhaps with adding on 1 more column. And I don't think I'm seeing much. You know, this is not very helpful, because there's so little alignment between the column, these green cells and these cells. I'm looking for something a lot tighter than that, and I'm not finding it. So I'm not actually sure. I should have highlighted these. Shall I put 1s in those just to remind me? I will for the time being. So this row is not that helpful. So we're probably going to have to look for rows and columns that have got 4 digits in. So let's have a look and see if we can see maybe this square. That's, you can see it sees 4 digits in the column and 4 digits in the row. So this square can be 3, I think. Can be 7. Is that all? 1, 2, 3 is possible. 4 is not possible. 5, 6. Yeah, so this square is very restricted. Let's try this square as well then. So that square can be 1 or 4. That's all. Ah, but there's no alignment between those 2 squares. That's weird. I'm going to check the rest of this row, because that does seem to be, these 2 squares are surprisingly restricted. So let's have a look at that square. That can be 1, I think. 2, 3, 4 and 5 are all ruled out. 6 and 7 are possible. So 1, 6 or 7 here. That square is a lot less restrained, because it only sees 1 in the column. So this has got 4 options. I'm not prepared to pencil mark it. This one, that one's a bit better. I think this has only got 3 options, because it sees the 3 and the 4 as different digits. So this can be 1, 4 or 7 as well. Ah, is it nearly a triple? No, not 4. That's wrong, in fact. Maybe this is better. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are all ruled out. Oh, 6. Oh, bother. And then 7 is possible, 8 and 9. So it's very close, you know. 1 is in one of 3 places in the row. Ah, what does that mean? Sorry, I'm not sure I know. So let's have a look for other... Probably we're looking at row 8, I think, is the next place I want to look. Again, it feels like these 4 squares are the most restricted in the puzzle, but let's carry on and see what we can find. So this has got to be 3... oh, not 3, in fact there's a 3 here. What am I talking about? It's got to be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 or 9. Okay, that one. 2. Can't be 3 or 4 or 5, 6, 7. No, it can be 8 or 9, I think. Oh dear. You rotten thing. Okay. Right. So I really am not sure. 3. Okay. Look at 3 in column. If I'm going to try and spot, what I was thinking is I'm going to try and spot places where digits can only appear in 2 positions in a row or a column. Look, 3 in this column can only be in those squares, and 4 can only be in those squares. So let's check 3's out in column 5 and see if we can find other places where 3's are similarly restricted. So maybe, look, no, oh, bother. No, oh dear. No, actually, this is nonsense. Let's try 4's. So 4 over here is difficult, isn't it? We certainly are not going to get much of an alignment. 4's. Okay, I'm going to carry on checking 4's. That's not completely unaligned with these 2. So 4 here can be in one of... That's really annoying, actually. That's not that far from being a finned swordfish. Let me just highlight that and just explain what I mean by that. Oh, maybe I don't want to highlight these 1's anymore. I think those 1's are just... they're a complete red herring. Let's get rid of that. So, what I'm thinking here is that... imagine that square, in fact, was... although the finned swordfish is not doing anything. Ah, no, this is... Sorry, and I know I'm not being very articulate, but I am trying to spot something useful, and I was about to explain what this finned swordfish, which doesn't even exist, might do, or might be, but I've noticed that I don't think there's any point in doing it, because actually, even if it was a finned swordfish like this would be a finned swordfish, because either there would be a real swordfish in these, in these cells here, which would eliminate 4's from, oh, actually that's going to be really hard to show. It would eliminate 4's from the rest of these rows in row 3. So the swordfish would be very useful because it would give me a 3 here. But the problem is this square and this square could potentially have the 4's in these columns. So it is not a swordfish, and it's not even a finned swordfish, because you can't have 2 fins like this. With a finned swordfish, what we'd be doing is asking the question, again, let's just imagine this wasn't in, is the fin true? And if the fin is not true, you know there's a swordfish. Now that could have effects, for example, in this box. If these 2 squares were not available, we would be able to say these could not be 4's. But here, it doesn't matter, because they're obviously given digits. We know they can't be 4s anyway, so this is nonsense. So I'm afraid I think that this is all complete gibberish. I'm sorry. Oh dear. Oh dear, dear, dear. So we're going to have to look for something else. What is it we're going to look for? And the answer to that is, I'm afraid I have not got a Scooby-Doo. I mean, it's possible that there is a restriction in some cell or other, which I'm thinking of a row or column. You know, for example, in this this square is weak because it actually sees 5 different digits. It sees 6 different digits. Oh no, it sees 7 because there's an 8 pencil mark. This square is interesting. This square can be 2 or 3 only, I think. It sees 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 2 or 3. Can we do better than that? We can. Let me just think about this for a moment. This is a classic Goodliffe square, you know, this one here. If Mark was doing this puzzle, he would definitely pick on this square mercilessly, and he would bifurcate away. And the reason he'd bifurcate away is that you can see that whether you pick 2 or 3 in this square, it really does damage. If you pick 2, you can immediately write 2 in here, 2 in here, and you know, you've got some digits that you can play with. Whereas if it's 3, if it's the alternative, that still gives you digits as well, because that gives you a 3 here, a 4 here. And again, you're getting immediately interesting progress, and a 3 up there actually. So this square is definitely a weak point in the puzzle in terms of how you could force a solution. But I will not do that. Which I make this rod for my own back by insisting I solve things logically. Maybe 2s, which we have a look at 2s then. If this digit is... Do we know anything about 2s? Not really, you know, because we've only got 2s at the top of the grid. Twos in column 5 are in one of 2 places, which does align with that square. It's just stripes of 2s that you can put in the grid, though, even in the restricted places. Yeah, you see, you've almost got another of these swordfishes here. In fact, that is a bit interesting. Hang on a minute, that is a bit interesting. No, the only thing I'm noticing there is I've almost got a swordfish on 2s. And it's the set, isn't it? Wasn't it those 2 squares that stopped me having a swordfish on 4s? That's weird. That is weird. I don't know what that means. But these 2 squares, if these 2 squares, imagine we had given digits here that weren't 2s, 3s and 4s, we would then have a swordfish on 4s and a swordfish on 2s. I'm just going to highlight, I can do it with 2 colours in this software. So this is the possible positions for 2s in these columns. I'm just going to remind myself where the positions for 4s were. So you can't have 4s in those. You can have 4s in those 3. So my 4s colour will be green. Now 4 in this column is in 2 positions, and 4 in this column is in those 3 positions. And so if these squares were not 2s and 4s, I mean, it's really powerful. If I have my swordfish on 4s, I really am away in the middle box. If I have a swordfish on 2s, I'm not quite as away, but I'd have a 1-2 pair in those squares in this row, and a 3-4 pair in the middle box. So, okay. Is there anything else restricted in these columns? Three is a bit restricted again. 3 can be there. It can be there. It can not be here. 3 can be there. 3 can be there. Oh, this is weird. I don't know what this is. I've got no clue even how to interpret it, but I think this is probably what we have to find here, because again, these two squares, if they are not 3s, I've got a swordfish on 3s. And again, that's going to be beautiful in this middle box. Oh, goodness. Okay, now you're really going to see me sweat, because what's the Oscar Wilde's quote? Wild regrets and bloody sweats. Oh, because I'm not really sure how I'm meant to do this. I'm not sure what this means, but I feel certain, or my gut reaction is that these two squares are somehow important in this puzzle. And it's... So, how do I do this? Is it the fact that if these... Hang on. Ah, okay. Okay. So... Right. Here you go. Here you go. This is a very, very good thought. Now, and I'm so sorry, I've just almost stopped speaking here, but I am really, I've just had a good thought, I think, which is, if we were to think about the 3s for a quick second, and imagine that there was no 3 in these squares. If there's no 3 in those squares, the puzzle is broken, isn't it? Because I can't fit 3 3s then into columns 3, 5 and 7. I think that is true, because one of these two squares is a 3 and one of these two squares is a 3. So that's 2 3s I can place in these rows. So if none of these are 3s, I've got a problem. I've got a missing 3 in either this column, or this column. Now, I think the same is true of 4s. If I don't put 4 into those 4 squares, I've got a 4 in one of these 2 squares. So that's a 4 in one of these columns. I've got a 4 in one of those 2 squares. So that's a second 4 in these 3 columns. But that's it. I have not got the third 4 that must exist in these 3 columns. Now I really would like to be able to conclude the same thing with 2s. I think it's the same logic. I can put 1, 2 in those columns in this row, 1, 2 in the columns in this row. So there must be 1, 2 in these 3 squares. Now, let's come back to the 1, which I think erroneously said was not important. We know that 1 is in one of those 4 squares. In fact, it's in exactly one of those 2 squares. So if my colour for 1s, I will do blue. Now, we've got a 1, 2, 3, 4 quadruple. And this is, I mean, it's mad. It's completely bonkers. But we have now proved that there must be a 2 in these 4 squares, there must be a 3 in these 4 squares, and there must be a 4 in these 4 squares, and now we've said there must be a 1 in these 4 squares. So there must be, and this is going to give us a 6. There you go. There you go. Now I have no idea what that is called, but that is basically 3 overlapping near-finned swordfishes to give you a 1, 2, 3, 4 quadruple in these cells. There you go, that's what it is. That's what it should be called. No doubt, if you want to know what it's actually called, look at Weacock's comments on this video, because Weacock always knows what everything is called in these strange worlds that we now live in. Now this, right, so now look, we've got 6s pencil marked into these squares. We can't put the 6 here because then I can't put the 1, 2, 3, 4 in there. So that is not 6. This is 6, and we might be, yeah, here we go. Are we home and hose? So we've now got a 6, 8 pair in this box, which means we can place 4, I think. Which means one of these 2 squares is a 4, which means neither of those 2 squares is a 4, because we know that these are a 1, 2, 3, 4 quadruple, even though they don't see each other. They see each other through the miracle of madness. This square is 1, 7. These squares are now 3 and something. 3 and 9. Which may not be resolved. This 4 is giving me a, no it's not. This 6, 8 is giving me a 1, 2. So this square is a 1 or a 2 now, because look at this column. I've got 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9 in the column. So now what do we do? Now we have got, I feel like we've just made amazing progress. I don't want it to die a death now. Come on, Simon. Right. Yes, here we go. If you can, there must be a 4 in one of those squares, because there's no 4 here, because this is a quadruple. Now there is no 4 here, which means that this square must be the 4 in box 7, which means that square's a 4, which means this square's a 3. Keep going, keep going. Now, what does that mean? 4, 3. 4 now in this column is forced to be in that square. So this square's got to be 2, 3, or 7. Just looking at this column. I must have done nearly all the 4s. No, I haven't actually. I've done some of them. There's 1 in one of those 3 squares. 2, 3, 8, 9. So this square is 2, 8, or 9. Ah, yeah, okay. So we ask where 3 goes in this row. 3 has to be in one of those squares, therefore it must be in one of these 2 squares, and that's beautiful. It's going to give me that digit as well. So 3 goes here, 9 goes here, 2 goes here. We can get rid of 2 from the quadruple, which means 2 moves over to this side. And 2 is no longer in that square. So looking along this line now, we still need to place... Oh, we still need to place 2 in this row, so that must go here. This square's now a 3 or a 7, so that square's become a 2 by Sudoku on column 5. This square's become a 1. That gives us the 4 and the 3. We can remove 4 and 3 from these squares. These become a 1-2 pair. This has become a 2. The 2 and the 1 go in, and there we go. We've done something. I'm not sure what it is we've done, but it feels like something of a miracle. So now we've got 1s in these dominoes, so we need to put a 1 in row 1 of the grid. It's not there, it's not here, it's not here, it must be there. Now, what do we do at the bottom here? We need an 8-9 pair, which we can't resolve, but in this column we need a 1-2 pair, which we can resolve, so they go in. Have we done all the 1s? No, we've still got an X-wing on 1s in rows 2 and 3. So we've got 7, 8 and 9 to place in this box. So this is a 7 or a 9. Have we resolved all our X-wings now? That's a good question. Or so not X-wings, our sort of mini swordfishes. So 4s we have now located. 3s. Hang on a minute. Hang on a moment. Have I just missed something here? 3s. I've got to put a 3. Yeah, I mean, where does the 3 go in this column? It's got to go there. And this column needs a 3, which will have to go here. Oh, you know what I think I could have done? That's weird. I'm not sure whether this is right. This is a puzzle that I think is going to have to be studied at some length afterwards. But those 3 squares, did they have to be 2, 3 and 4? Because they were not in these. And yet they appear. Maybe that's not right. They've got, you know, we've got colours in this row. Each of the colours is appearing in this row. Each of the colours is appearing in this row. I think when we found our, whatever, I don't know what to call this, the near overlapping finned swordfishes thing that caused this to be a 1, 2, 3, 4 quadruple. If we think about, we knew there had to be a 2 in one of those 3 squares at that point. Now, we also knew, yes we did know, we also knew there had to be a 3 in one of those 3. This is it. There had to be a 3 in one of those 3 squares, and there had to be a 4 in one of those 3 squares. So this, as a result of this, I could have immediately just said, this is a 2, 3, 4 quadruple, and that's probably very powerful for this row, because that would give me a 7, 8, 9 triple straight away. I don't know if that would have been helpful, but it probably would have been. I can see immediately now this square has to be a 3, and there's 2 ways we can get to that. We can either get there by realising that this has to be a 2, 3, 4 quadruple for the reasons I've just said, or we can ask the question at this point of the solve, where does the 3 go in column 3 of the grid? And you can see it can only go there. And once this is a 3, that can't be a 3, so that became a 3. So anyway, I think, I don't know, there's more mystery to be examined there. 7, 1 go in there. That becomes a 6. 6. Let's try and put the right digit in, otherwise we really will have trouble. This square can't be 7. 1 now has to live in exactly that square in box 1. Those two squares have to be 8 and 9, and that's nice because we can do it. That means there 8 and 6, which means this is a 9, which means there is a 9 in one of those two. Don't think we know which one. And we need 3, 5 and 6 here, which must be, means that one's is 3, which means, I don't know what that means. It means those two are a 5, 6 pair. Now, let us hope that this is about to finish. What I'm going to do, I think, if I can finish this puzzle, is I'm going to put it into a solver and see whether the solver can explain whatever it was that we just discovered, because that would be very interesting to sort of at least know what it was we were aiming for here. Now that's a 6, 8 pair, and okay, so probably we look down this column, I would have thought, for 3s and 4s. Yes, we do. 3s and 4s, which means that there's a 4 here, an 8 here, an 8, a 6, a 6, a 5, a 5 and something, a 7 probably. If I haven't made a mistake, that should be a 9, not a 0, and that should be a 7. And then this column needs an 8, and that might be the solution. Fabulous. That was as strange as it gets. Now, 1 second while I go off and put this into a solver. Bear with me. Right, I'm back. I put it into a solver. So this is what we have to do, I think. Oh, we could grade it first. Look, let's do that. Grade. Diabolical grade. Don't know what that means. Probably means it's hard. Take step. Take step. Take step. Take step. It's not doing anything. It's broken, I think. Oh no. Hang on. Oh, I see. I can just keep clicking. Keep clicking. I don't know if it's doing anything clever yet. It has found some pointing pairs. I don't know if that's doing much. No, that's just eliminate. I see. I see. So it's the yellow things that are being eliminated by what it's found. So this is just a pair of 8s. I think I even found that pair of 8s. Ah, this is what we found. Exocet. What on earth is that? Actually, maybe this isn't what we found. Exocet pattern of 2, 3, 4. In base E4, E6. This is just, this might as well be speaking a different language. In base E4, E6, oh, E4, E6 are those two squares. Exocet pattern of 2, 3, 4, and targets D7 and F3, which are the green ones. 6 is removed from the target cell here. 1, 7, and 9 are removed from. Right. I don't know what this seems to be related to what we found, because although I'm not sure it's as powerful as what we found, because what we found is that this square, this square, this square and this square, they weren't just limited to be 1, 2, 3, 4 in some order. They had to be exactly the digits 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4. They formed a quadruple, which I don't know if this is what this is saying. Let's click take a step. See what it does next. Oh, it gets the 6. We got the 6 from eliminating it from that square, but that's still not using the fact it's a quadruple. Yeah, we got the 4. Ah. I don't like that. That's a uniqueness trick. Let's ignore that. Let's make it not do that. Can I just back it out of that or something? I don't want it to do that. I don't know if I don't know what I've done now. Oh. Exocet again. What on earth? Exocet pattern. It's the same thing it's saying again, but this time somehow it's removed more stuff. So, yeah, I think we may be it may be exocets that is the pattern that's being demonstrated here. I don't know. I am going to look forward to the comments on this video. What I can tell you without fear of contradiction is how Shai has built this into a Sudoku. I have literally no idea. Literally no idea. If the idea of this was to hide almost finned fishes into these three columns in such a way that it yielded this pattern, which then allowed us to solve the puzzle. Imagine trying to do that. In fact, the fact it's using the digits 1, 2, 3, and 4 is a bit suspicious, isn't it? Because that does imply that that's exactly what Shai was doing. How do you create this? Because if you think about it as well, you've got to make sure that the logic of the puzzle is not susceptible to any other technique that might be much easier for for a human or a computer to solve. So you've got to sort of put it in a starting position which allows this pattern to emerge, and then not break that, and it must logically flow from there in a way that is sort of not getting brutally difficult and doesn't disturb any of the earlier stuff that you're trying to embed into the puzzle. It's ridiculous, to be honest. It's ridiculously clever in a way I can't even begin to comprehend. I've always found setting classic Sudoku to be almost impossible. Richard Stolk's quote about it is incredibly true, which is that if you want to make a good classic Sudoku, the best way to do it is to make 20 classic Sudokus and pray. Whereas this is not that. This is just not that. What Shai has done is she's built something that is, it's brilliant ab initio, and I don't know how it's done. So Shai, if you are watching, please make the setters video. Please send us a setting video on how you made this puzzle, because I, for one, would be a very keen watcher of that video. I'm sorry this has been a long one. I'm quite pleased I solved it, to be honest, and I'm quite pleased I understood, I think, this 1, 2, 3, 4 quadruple, but I'm not sure now I could explain what an exocet is, so apologies for that, but maybe that's what we just witnessed here, an exocet. You can tell me. We'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.